Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje on Tuesday announced a ban on street begging by children popularly referred to as Almajiris. Now, the governor's spokesperson, Abba Anwar, said the ban was to fully consolidate the free and compulsory primary and secondary schools education in the state. Now, he noted that the state hopes to integrate the Almajiri system into the policy and address the lingering problem of street begging. Well, joining us in the studio to further discuss this is a public affairs analyst, Tosin Akande. Good to have you right here
good morning.
On the show.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
All right, let's begin with what the governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Ganduje, has said, that the education policy, its new education policy, has actually increased school enrollment from 2.5 million to 3.8 million. So apparently, whatever measures they are putting in place are recording some success. But what do you think about this idea of, arresting street beggars and even their parents if they continue to, beg on the streets and, don't send their kids to school? That criminalization of begging and not going to school, are you okay with that?
Okay, once again, I thank you for having me. And while you were, doing your intro, you said something that is akin to statistics. I didn't hear you very well. Can you repeat it, please? About something about millions.
Enrollment, yes, school enrollment increasing from 2.5 million to 3.8 million.
Well, that cannot be true. Politicians will always tell lies. I'm sorry about that. They are always being economical with the truth. Fact is, I'm aware that there's a draft plan of action according to those who should be in the know, those who are in the best position to know. I'm talking about Professor Ahmed Modibo. He's the former executive secretary of the UBEC, Universal Basic Education Commission. And I heard him lamenting that northern governors have frustrated the efforts of the central government, the federal government, to integrate Almajiri system with the formal schools. So in fact, school enrollment has considerably dropped, to the best of my knowledge, and not gone on the increase as
what timeline are we looking at
indicated by, I'm talking about as recently as last year and now. So as been alluded to the spokesman of the governor, that's not true. I'll front out with that.
Yeah, but on the issue of incorporating the Almajiri school system to the regular school system, that's a move that the governor is, making too.
Honestly, I don't see it in that light. To start with, there's what philosophers call the spirit of folk gist, the concept of folk gist, the spirit of a people. This tendency for these guys, these young children, to keep begging is anchored. Don't forget that zakat is one of the pillars of Islam, one of the tenets of the faith of Islam. And so they do that consciously or unconsciously owing to their adherence to their faith. All right, now, it is not outright banned. Otherwise, I would have felt that we're in a banocracy and not in a democracy, where every government seems to be banning and banning. It's unheard of. You see, you are in government because of the people. I am of the opinion, though I'm not in Kano, but I think this is a one fits all solution. Carry the people along. They've been doing these things for donkey years. I'm talking about a practice that have outlived close to 100 years. And so you now come with a ban in one fell swoop. Do you want to kill them? That's not how it should be done. You should carry them along with sensitizations. They should have a semblance of orientation agency at the state levels. It's not only supposed to be the federal government. Government deals with the people. Our business is daily dealing with people, Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, not even those who have gone to school like you. Ordinary Nigerians, they need to be carried along on every governmental activity. You've not done that, and you just come to say because you want to ban, because you think it's perceived as beggarly, it's perceived as something, socially debasing. It's not so. They've been doing this for donkey years, anchoring it to that Islamic faith. And now somebody just wakes up and you come and say, we are banning. It's a banocracy, I'm afraid.
But can you liken the two things? Because if somebody assumes a certain type of economic privilege and a certain type of economic wealth and is still a Muslim, they can still observe the need to give to charity, as zakat says. But with these people, surely it is firstly economic and not religious. It is because they don't have income or because they are economically underprivileged. Surely that is the issue that needs to be addressed.
I'll situate it this way. This system was fault-free. It was error-free. when it was being administered before the coming of the whites. And you know, British colonialization came with this policy of condemning everything African and upholding everything. That's why in fact, there's a school, they say Karatun Boko. That's the concept that, look, this is school for the whites and not for Muslims. You see, you can force the horse to get with you to the river. You will never be able to force it to drink. You have overpowered the people, you've conquered them. But you have forgotten that inside is willpower. That's where it lies. They want to be educated the way they've always been educated. In those days of yore, in the days of Othman Danfodio, this Almajiri concept of schooling was being state-sponsored. I'm not talking about the British government now. It was being sponsored by the royalties that existed in the north in those days. And so there was no incidence of begging except for the cost of zakat. And that was upon the premise that Almajiris school system thrived. That was the same system that produced the great-grandfather of Aliko Dangote. That was the root of Aliko Dangote's wealth. He met it at home. So you don't throw everything away, hook, line, and say I'm a fisherman and boat, if I'm permitted to add that. You have to ensure that there's a way these people have seen themselves have been educated over the years. Just latch into it and you see the best of them. The same thing happened. I was at the seminar sometime, maybe time will permit me to say, I told a British man, say, you people come here and say to hide something from an African, put it in a book. Yeah. It's true, but for us it's not debasing. Why? Because the Yorubas, for instance, I'm Yoruba. We say there's a proverb. They say, the best of the white man it lies in his hands. He can't think. Unlike her, here, we pass values by oral tradition. We know everything by heart. That's why those guys who can recite the entire Quran by heart.
But the same oral traditions, people would say, have actually failed us because passing on of knowledge, you cannot rely on oral tradition to actually do that.
It is they who say you cannot rely. Who told you that oral tradition has never been relied upon? It is the white man who came and started saying that about us.
Theological text, even like the Ifa religion or the Ifa
it's the white man.
It's based upon oral tradition.
And that's it. So you see, when Ahmed Modibo was saying this, people looked at him and ignored him. It is the northern governors who have taken advantage of this thing because I was building up from the history. It was error-free. But these politicians cashed in on that and turned it into what it has been. This wasn't the vision of people like Othman Danfodio. How much less? Ahmadu Bello, Sir Ahmadu Bello. So
what then should be done when you have a situation where a huge majority, 14 million out-of-school children are in the northern part of the country?
That's the problem I keep having.
Okay.
I'm also a journalist before I became a lawyer.
Yes.
You don't believe everything these white guys come here. To start with, they are not here. Though they have mechanism with which they get their facts.
These are not reports necessarily from the white guys.
I know.
From the National Bureau of Statistics came out with these figures.
Sometimes, well, they say facts don't lie.
They don't.
But I don't know about statistics. If what constitutes these statistics are indeed facts. You guys taught us in the journalism school that comments are free, but facts are sacred. I hold on seriously to that faith. Now, in talking further, I'm of the opinion, for example, that they should do what the government of Jonathan was doing before. He spent close to 15 billion naira, for crying out loud, on integrating these Almajiri schools to making sure that they learn beyond Arabic, they learn maths and English language, and so that they can make something out of their lives. But because of the need to continue to have boys at your disposal, to go and kill, to go and maim, because of your bloodthirsty dispositions, you continue to do what you know is wrong. So these are the things. They need to be sincere. If they are sincere enough, they will make the most and the best out of those young boys, I believe.
It doesn't matter to you that some 7,500 teachers will be actually deployed to help teach these children and take them off the streets.
We have the manpower. We have the manpower. The first teachers training college was built in Katsina in the 1920s or 30s. And since that time, between then and now, do you know how many schools, how many colleges of education, how many teachers we have produced? We've never been in lack. There is unemployment in this country. People are ready to work. So the problem is not about having the personnel to teach these people. The problem has always been, the root cause has always been the failure of the political class. They are the ones that made this thing result into this, to the shame, into the sham that we now have.
And this governor is trying to find a way forward.
Anyway,
apart from what he is bringing forward in terms of solving the out-of-school children, problem that Nigeria, not only the northern Nigeria suffers, the whole of Nigeria has this problem. What would be your own recommendations as the way forward? To
start with, if you ask for my view, it's going to be very broad because for me, education does not start and end in the four walls of the classroom. It's broad. Whatever it is that you learn and you have improved upon, it's education. So I wouldn't want to rely on giving tips or advice on formal education. I want to talk about education broadly. So everybody is an agent of teaching. It's an agent of behavioral change. Let's start from homes. My son went to a program some time ago and said, Daddy, I don't want to mention the artist's name. Daddy, I saw so. I says, don't ever let me hear you say, you were with that person. I said, that's the person that said, school has come. Don't you want to go to school? He said, Daddy, I want to go to school. I said, oh. So even journalists, we journalists, I'm one of you as well. Even we journalists should begin to, you see, journalism, editing, I was told, is gatekeeping of information. There are certain things we should not even allow on our airspace, and we allow it. So my recommendation is that everybody is in a position to teach. I once said some years ago, and I will repeat it, that nearly every Nigerian is guilty of an offense, negligence. You've neglected what you should do. You can't leave this task for parents alone or for teachers alone. Journalists, newspaper houses, even the churches and the mosques are not excluded from this. They are not exempt from this. Everybody, all hands on deck.
Ladies?
It seems like a discussion between the two of you. We don't want to interrupt.
Exactly. But before we go to break, just quickly there, you have, I don't want to say negative, but you have strong words to say to the government. You feel as though did you say they've abandoned their responsibility when it comes to the handling?
Not only for government, everybody. I said every Nigerian has been negligent. We all should do what we ought to do.
But you don't think what the governor is trying to do here is correct?
They are politicians. You are here, you are not a politician.
Tosin, let me ask you this before we go to break.
Yeah.
What are you doing to change this situation since every Nigerian is negligent?
This is one of the things I'm doing. I actually stay in Abuja, but because I found myself in Lagos, one certain Shola Jacobs called me on phone and said, you have to be here. And then I said, okay, I'll be doing this for the cause of Nigeria. Right. So I've actually said I've given up on the country.
Well, public affairs analyst Tosin Akande, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.